In our next segment of man-made horrors beyond our comprehension, a senior figure in the Ukrainian defense industry has revealed that a drone killed a Russian soldier without human intervention. According to The Insider, the autonomous test took place 2 years ago and involved a quadcopter drone armed with explosives being given permission to autonomously seek out and destroy targets. Although likely not the first case of a fully autonomous kill on the Ukrainian battlefield, the incident is one of the first public admissions that such technology is being used without human intervention. The Ukrainian government currently bans the use of AI during the final interception phase of a drone attack, although its use has become common before the decision to engage an objective. Most militaries are currently in the process of developing technology that can automate the process of identifying and attacking targets. The United States has notably relied on Palantir's Maven smart system for identifying targets in the ongoing Iran war. Two anonymous insiders speaking to the Washington Post stated that artificial intelligence was used in the US strike that killed 120 school children on the opening day of the war. According to them, the school that was hit was tagged as either a factory or an arms depot before it was approved as an airstrike target. Such incidents have called into question the morality of using fully autonomous weapons, as AI is incapable of making their own moral choices. Large language models are based on probabilistic decision-making, meaning when you ask ChatGPT a question, it does its best to spit out the most likely word or sentence in a sequence. AI models, therefore, will naturally veer toward the most likely answer for a situation. But the most likely answer isn't necessarily the most moral. As Andrew Rogoyski of the University of Surrey would explain, quote, "Morality is deeply complex, contested, culturally shaped, and something that most humans never fully resolve, even for themselves. Perhaps the real question is whether we understand morality enough to codify it. Until we do, we cannot expect machines to embody something we ourselves cannot clearly articulate." The importance of having a human involved in the kill chain has also concerned Oxford University's Maria Rosaria Taddeo. The professor of digital ethics and defense technologies argues that any autonomous AI that steals the dignity of a soldier and that removes the responsibility of an attacker should be outright banned. This comes after a recent push by the United Nations, which has struggled to achieve global consensus on autonomous weapons governance. A major problem in trying to use AI ethically in wartime is that weapons will only be as moral as those who are programming them. And even now, accountability often isn't enforced. For example, the Israeli military has gained a reputation of inflicting high collateral damage in its wars against Hamas and Hezbollah. An AI trained from previous strike data might interpret that a certain threshold of civilian casualties is acceptable within its decision-making. However, experts within the field of AI and military planning are skeptical that the AI genie can be put back in the bottle. Nicholas Wright, a neuroscientist and author of Warhead, a book on the human brain and war, would explain that AI is just humanity's newest arms race. In his own words, quote, "For any military to compete effectively against other high-end militaries, it is going to need a large amount of systems that will be required to take decisions on their own. This makes the battlefield even more morally complex. If morally conscious nations refuse to use AI in their weapons systems, this could lead to a situation where the morally bankrupt hold a monopoly on autonomous murder robots." Some within the drone industry view the situation differently. Olaf Hitchwa, co-founder of the drone startup Neros, believes that AI could make war more ethical for those fighting it, explaining in his own words, quote, "Morality is the province of human beings, which is why AI-assisted weapon systems need to be built in a way that extends the judgment and decision-making of the operator rather than wholesale replacing it." A lot of people are looking at autonomy somewhat incorrectly. They're not looking at it through the eyes of the user. They're saying, let's make fully autonomous weapon systems. But the reality of warfare is that it's still very much a human-on-human interaction. One example of autonomy is right now. Pilots require a lot of very precise training to get the drone to travel along the right angle. Some autonomy could be the user or the human sets a general path and the drone follows that path. Neros reasons that as fighting a war is inherently stressful, these AI-assisted tools could reduce the cognitive burden on the people using them. Instead of worrying about their own capabilities, a person could instead be more concerned with whether what they're doing is morally justified. A soldier's job would be to confirm or decline what an AI believes is correct. When looking at Ukraine specifically, the morality of killing is complicated further by the enemy they're forced to fight. Russia has been heavily reliant on conscripts since the start of the full-scale invasion, and most recently have targeted universities and technical colleges in their latest recruitment drive. According to reports, the Russian government has set a quota of 2% of male students to be recruited to its military, and it's using a variety of carrots and sticks to meet these goals. Universities are given money for every student they're able to recruit, and both veterans and widows are given priority positions. Students are also promised to have their tuition wiped at the end of their service. However, under Russian law, military contracts are for an indefinite period. There are even reports of students having to choose between enlistment and expulsion after failing an exam. Simply retaking an exam is no longer an option. The latest recruitment campaign is the Kremlin's most recent effort to avoid another full-scale draft, the likes of which it saw in September 2022. According to Keir Giles, an expert in Russia's military, the Russian government is still trying to avoid such drastic measures. In his own words, quote, "I think if it were politically viable, Putin would have done it by now. The fact that this is still being avoided, even when the Russian armed forces have gone through minor manpower crises in the course of this conflict, indicates what a hard decision it is to make. Analysts now believe that Russia is sustaining 35,000 casualties per month, which is a reflection of Ukraine's conscious effort to prioritize draining Russia's manpower. In this context, it's easy to see why giving an AI drone a moral code is so difficult. Ukraine is a sovereign country that overwhelmingly wants to remain independent. However, to maintain this independence, it's forced to kill tens of thousands of people a month, many of whom are coerced into serving. Any truly moral AI death drone would instead reason that the only morally sound thing to do is to capture Vladimir Putin and trap him in the Ball Smasher 3000 until the end of time. However, this is currently beyond the reach of science. Pretty much any way you slice it, AI in warfare is bound to be as horrifying as it is inevitable. Optimistically, it would be nice to think that such newly invented horrors would discourage mankind from waging wars in the first place. However, history tells us that this won't be the case.